Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Media Boat Podcast. Yay, everybody's favorite part of the week. I know it's mine. Today is May the 19th, 2021. This is episode 280, believe it or not. If you don't know what the Media Boat Podcast is, let me tell you about it. It is a podcast that is about the media, in case you guessed from the title. We talk about movies, television, video games, and music, not necessarily in that order, but some order of those things. My name is Matt. With me is Mike.
I'm Mike. He's Matt. If you didn't have Twitter or Facebook, you kind of missed like some big news that hit this week. Lucky for you, and I guess lucky for us, we will provide you with said news. A lot of stuff happened in media. God. Big deals were made. Big announcements were made.
A lot of stuff. One little piece of house cleaning or whatever the term is that I want to get done that I should have brought up last week and I did not bring up because it's just been chaotic. This month of May has just been so much happening all over the place. But of course, if you're aware, on the world stage, there's currently a major crisis happening in Israel between the Israelis and the Palestinians. I probably can't do a good job of describing what's going on there. However, I will direct you to last week's edition of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He did a really good job of kind of breaking down the situation and what's going on there. So go on YouTube, go find that clip. He does a way better job than I could ever do. But I just want to say that, yes, our stance here, Media Boat Podcast, a lot of the stuff Israel is doing to the Palestinians is violating their human rights. The violence on the sides is not balanced. I understand that the Israelis see some sort of terrorist threat, but the attacks that are happening are not equal to the threat level. It's leveling a lot of buildings with a lot of civilians, a lot of media. And do your research, donate to causes if you can. But just know that, I hesitated to mention it last week. It just slipped my mind. But yes, it's an ongoing thing that's still happening. I will actually bring it up again later in the show because one of the video game stories this week ties directly into this conflict. But we'll get there later in the show. But I just wanted to kind of establish that before we start and say, yes, we are aware and we didn't forget it's happening and we should say something about it. So. All right.
I mean, I've been watching live streams on YouTube of it happening. I saw a building fall down live and got flashbacks from
it's
9/11.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I mean, there's a lot of
and
a lot of
we don't
imagery
cover
out there
here either. But one of the buildings they did take down was the AP News headquarters in the Gaza Strip.
Right. And needless to say, you have to question something of that kind of volume about whether it was warranted or not. And that's a big question. And all signs point to no. But yes,
not to worry, because the U.S. government came out and told the UN to not release a statement, which they then released anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of the other half of this, which is that the U.S. seems to be funding and fully behind, at least the Biden administration seems to not be letting up their defense of Israel on this. We'll see how it plays out. We're a media podcast. We're not going to get too deep into it, but I just wanted to bring it up on a surface level to say where we stand.
Tend to bring up big global events that are happening. And that is a very big global event, even if it is mainly centered in about 100 square miles.
So we'll get back to it in the video game section. But before that, we have the rest of the podcast to get through. So let's start that in earnest here. Why don't we start? We always do with movies. And we always start movies with the weekend box office numbers. A little bit of a box office change this week. Spiral, that Saw spinoff, is your number one movie this week, debuting at $8.7 million.
Congratulations, Chris Rock, on being atop the box office once again.
Yes. Number two, Wrath of Man slips down to number two, $3.7 million this week. That's sitting at 14.5 domestic. Number three, Those Who Wish Me Dead debuts to $2.8 million.
That's number that Angelina Jolie movie.
Yes.
which you could have watched on HBO Max.
That is true. Number 4, Demon Slayer, the movie Mugen Train. Slips down a little bit. Another $1.7 million. 41 million total. That puts it about where I believe Raya and the Last Dragon ended. So they're kind of neck and neck.
What do you mean ended? Raya and the Last Dragon is still going.
No. Ended in the top 5. It's out of the top 5 this week because, oh wait, no, it's not. It is number 5. I should have read ahead. $1.7 million for Raya this week. That's at 46, so right ahead of where Demon Slayer is. It's just, that's a fascinating race to me. To see if the anime movie can outdo the Disney movie is fascinating in a year where anything goes.
Right. The one that slipped out of the top 5 was Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes, that
but
makes sense.
It still made 95 million domestically total. So are we really that sad for it?
And no new releases this week. You have to wait another week for 2 big tentpoles. So hold your horses on that one.
New wide releases. There are still some independent movies coming out, but nothing is getting a wide release until next weekend, which is Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, so.
Which I've been told on and on again, we do not celebrate. It's not a happy occasion, but I get the day off. So how happy should I really be?
I get that. I get a 5-day vacation since my second shot is on Wednesday. So I just took that whole time off and it's going to be great. I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably just collapsed in my bed for 2 days. But besides that, it'll be fun. We'll see how hard that thing hits me. But in the meantime, let's go on to movie news. Our first story is a little segment that we like to call here at Media Boat Podcast. Hey, is that the phone ringing? Because we called it.
Oh, we called it. We called it last year when this news came out. And then we called it again at the beginning of this year when the news came out again that talks were happening yet again.
So what you need to know for context to this story is that MGM, studio of legend, brought you such film franchises as James Bond. They're a big deal and they're classic. They go back decades. Well, they were on the selling block. They were ready to get purchased because they need to survive. And we were talking about, in both of those stories you mentioned, potential suitors for MGM. And one made sense to us more than any of the others. We were thinking, well, it's probably going to be a tech company because they have the money to do this, to buy something that's really expensive like a studio like this. And the first one that comes to mind when you think of digital studios with streaming enterprises that seem likely to be able to afford a giant studio like this, Amazon. Well,
the other one being Apple, but
the other one being Apple.
It's Amazon.
But in this case, Amazon is indeed the one who looks like, not officially yet, but looks like is going to make a bid on MGM. They are weeks into negotiations on a deal to acquire MGM for about $9 billion. The deal is said to be orchestrated by Mike Hopkins, Senior VP of Amazon Studios and Prime Video, directly with MGM board chairman Kevin Ulrich, whose Anchorage Capital is a major MGM shareholder. MGM claims to own one of the world's deepest libraries of premium film and TV content. Its 4,000 film titles include, as I mentioned, James Bond, The Hobbit, Rocky and Creed, RoboCop, Pink Panther, as well as movies like The Silence of the Lambs, The Magnificent Seven, and Four Weddings and a Funeral, among many, many others. The MGM TV library is nothing to snuff at either. It includes approximately 17,000 episodes of programming, including Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, anything with a Stargate on the title, Vikings, Fargo, The Handmaid's Tale, Get Shorty, Condor, Fame, American Gladiators, Teen Wolf, and In the Heat of the Night. Unscripted shows in its portfolio include The Voice, Survivor, Shark Tank, The Real Housewives, and The Hills. So needless to say, just that unscripted bunch right there tells you right away that even if it wasn't for the legacy of movies and all these franchises that you care about, they're worth a lot of money. So $9 billion makes a lot of sense here. It's an insane amount of money, but it makes sense. They're worth a lot of money.
Right, because when you say MGM, most people think, oh, you mean just the people who run James Bond. Yes and no. They're a lot more than that, as we just pointed out. You have shows all across different streaming networks. Teen Wolf, Hulu, Fargo, Handmaid's Tale. Wait, no, that's Hulu. Fargo's FX. American Gladiators, NBC. Fame, FX. Shark Tank, ABC. Survivor, CBS. The Voice, NBC. Bravo, Real Housewives. The Hills, VH1, MTV, whatever it's on.
Yep, Viacom. So yeah, their assets range across the board. It makes sense for Amazon to snap this up because they're immediately things they could spin out into Prime exclusives or keep those different revenue streams coming in from all sorts of sources. They can really do all sorts of things with these properties. It
now,
also is important.
Well, if they own all these properties, does that mean they're just going to move to Amazon Prime?
It's possible, but unlikely.
It's unlikely. What you will get, however, are a lot of spin-offs because they would own the IP for those programs and allowed to make subsequent spin-offs from them.
But one of the most important reasons why Amazon would do this, and we've kind of referenced this in previous times talking about this story, is because of the ongoing debate about streaming networks and the Oscars. When award season comes around, streaming networks want to be involved in that conversation, but we've had this back and forth between the Academy and streaming networks about access to theaters and having the movies being screened for a while. Amazon owning MGM puts them in the same conversation that Netflix is now. They're going to have the leverage thanks to a storied name attached to them, like MGM, to put their movies in theaters, make more exclusive deals, and have that award season conversation that has been more difficult for them in the past. So the prestige is probably just as much of a reason to do this as the gigantic library is.
I mean, coming with the gigantic library is all those IPs that you can then remake into films for the new generation. But yes, rarely will you see a Hollywood elite or anyone in the Hollywood industry tell you that MGM is not a film company, that it's not worthy of being an Oscar-nominated film.
And yeah, it's not like the infrastructure of MGM goes away when this happens. It'll probably remain the same. Amazon will just be fronting the bill. And that's the perfect storm for MGM to become relevant again.
Amazon does not need to have its name plastered on the front of every movie.
No.
That's what the MGM is for. That roaring lion is very iconic. You might see like underneath it an Amazon company.
Yeah.
But that's to be seen because we've seen that with Warner Brothers, with Paramount, TriStar, Sony, a lot of these companies.
And of course, it's important to note that, yes, this doesn't change our opinion about Amazon. Amazon still is a company with a lot of shady practices that we're not super happy with in general. That being said, so yes, there is kind of that baggage attached to this, but financially it made sense that a tech company like this, that this big, is the only bunch that can afford to spend $9 billion on them. So it was kind of an inevitability anyway, but that's what it is. And yeah, if this goes through, if it looks like it might, it's going to change, I think, a lot of the way that MGM does business. So it'll be interesting.
Right. First line in this story is weeks into negotiation. Yes. $1 billion deals don't happen overnight.
No.
They're weeks to months into it. So the fact that they probably made it this far, a couple of weeks into negotiations, means they're pretty much set and just hammering out details of how much stock versus cash and where certain executives would line up within the restructuring.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll, of course, report back if this is finalized and have more information for y'all then. Yeah. But in the meantime, let's talk about our second story here. What's going on with the other one of the other streaming players here, HBO Max? Well, you may have been looking forward to one of the big tentpoles that they announced would be simul released on HBO Max and in theaters, which is the next adaptation of Dune. Well, don't get too excited. The high-profile Denis Villeneuve. How do you pronounce his last name?
Villeneuve.
Okay. Sci-fi remake of Dune, out this fall, turns out will not adhere to the day-and-day release pattern established for the entire 2021 slate as established by HBO at the beginning of the year. Instead, it will premiere in Venice in September and then enter theaters for a time before finding its way to streaming service HBO Max.
Technically, this was end of last year with Wonder Woman 1984 premiering on Christmas.
Right, you're right. Warner Brothers had already reached a deal with Regal Cinemas to restore theatrical windows exclusively in 2022 before titles go to streaming, but I guess Dune is an exception, and this is happening to it in this calendar year of 2021. The strategy for day-and-date release has, for the most part, proven to be successful, according to Warner, for releases like Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat, which both piled up sizable theatrical grosses by pandemic standards, while also appearing to boost HBO Max subscriber levels. Here's a little data for you. The company added 2.7 million new customers in the first quarter before those films even came out. The same can't be said for prestige films like The Little Things and Those Who Wish Me Dead, however, which makes it sound like Warner did some math and thought about the kind of movie actually matters when it comes to streaming revenue. So maybe Dune, a little bit more serious, a little less in effects heavy, maybe falls on that side of the fence. So it doesn't make as much sense for them to do the day and date when they can potentially make more money from a theatrical release, especially now with more people becoming more comfortable with going to movie theaters.
So Dune kind of straddles that line between prestige and big budget because it's a sci-fi adaptation. And so you have a lot of special effects going on, meaning one would think, oh, that's big budget film. That's got to be like Godzilla and Kong and Mortal Kombat. Big budget film. But the actual content of Dune isn't big budget enough, though.
All you have to do is look at the director, right? Just think of the kind of movie that Blade Runner 2049 was. Yes, it has special effects, and yes, it's technically sci-fi, but the actual film was more of a film noir story with like serious adult content, and makes it fall more on the cinematic side of things as opposed to blockbuster action movie side of things. And so it would not be surprising if this is very similar.
I mean, the executives have probably screened this movie by now. They've probably seen what it's like, and they'll know, like, okay, we have our estimates and given to marketing of how much we think it could make.
Yeah.
Put that against what Godzilla and Kong has just made, 95 million domestically.
Yeah,
you start to weigh those options. But it's here, but it is premiering in Venice in September for the Venice Film Festival. Asterisk, if that continues to happen, who knows?
Right.
But this is a move that studios do to put their next big feature or Oscar contender at premiere at these film festivals. So no surprise here, but a little bit of a shakeup.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to be disappointed by this move, that were looking forward to be able to see Dune in the comfort of their own home. So
what's this?
That kind of
hand back here? Yes, one of them.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I was it probably was the thing that was going to make me watch it, because I have no investment in Dune. I have not seen other adaptations, not read the book. So I probably would have given it a try on HBO Max. Now I have to wait a little longer, but So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are probably in that boat, and that's disappointing. But
Well, you can watch Dune on HBO Max.
eventually.
No, the 1987 version starring
Well,
Kyle
I'm
MacLachlan.
probably
Yes,
not going
that
to
Kyle
do that.
MacLachlan.
Yes, probably not going to do that, but thanks for the offer.
But Sir Patrick Stewart is in it as well.
Patrick Stewart's in a lot of things.
Yes, he is.
Anyway, all right. Why don't we move on? Did you watch any movies this week?
So the new movie from HBO Max was Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Mhm.
Oh no, that's it. I'm just telling you that was the new movie. I didn't watch it.
Okay, yeah, no, did not give that one a shot.
Nope. Nope. Didn't watch a movie. No.
No, me
Pass.
neither. Kind of slow going lately. So yeah, nothing to report on the movie side this week. So that means we can probably safely move on here into television, and we always start the television section with a sports corner. As you can see, I am prepared for the sports corner this week. So let's talk some sports. But before we talk about baseball, first up, we have to talk about basketball. The NBA Hall of Fame for the previous season, 2020, was determined.
Well, it wasn't
and your
determined.
members,
they were officially welcomed.
Okay, yes, but same difference.
Yes.
Anyway, a posthumous entry for Kobe Bryant, because of course. We also have Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Coach Eddie Sutton, Coach Rudy Tomjanovich, WNBA's Tamika Catchings, coach of Tamika,
yeah.
Coach of Baylor, Kim Mulkey, Coach Barbara Stevens, and Executive Patrick Bowman. So there you go.
So while our first initial report was that the 2020 players inducted to the Hall of Fame would only be Kobe, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett, that still rang true. Just coaches also get added into that list as well.
Which is nice. Like, nice to see people who are not just the star players getting honored for the things that they did in the league. That's cool. Then you also have the 2021 Hall of Fame as well.
Like literally the next day they announced it.
First up, the 9th winningest coach in the NBA history, Rick Adelman. Then, of course, Chris Bosh, Paul Pierce, Coach Bill Russell, Ben Wallace, Chris Webber, Villanova coach Jay Wright, WNBA's Yolanda Griffith, and the WNBA MVP Lauren Jackson. Distinguished committees also selected 7 directly elected enshrinees: Val Ackerman, Cotton Fitzsimmons, and Howard Garfinkel from the Contributor Committee, Clarence Fats Jenkins from the Early African American Pioneers Committee, Tony Kukoc from the International Committee, Bob Dandridge for the Veterans Committee, and Pearl Moore from the Women's Veterans Committee.
Yes. Note, Coach Bill Russell is being inducted different from player Bill Russell.
Fair. So, yeah.
I don't think he's the only person to get in there twice, but because he also does announcing, could be a 3-time eventually.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. As is executive as well, but we'll see about that.
Could happen.
But yeah, as far as players go, you have Chris Bosh, Paul Pierce, and Chris Webber. 3 pretty good players back in the early aughts.
You could say.
Yeah. Couple of championships between them. Yeah. Couple MVP trophies, couple defensive player of the years. Yeah. Couple all-stars. Yeah. Just a couple.
So yeah, needless to say, a lot of support for the people there. What I can tell you that there's not a whole lot of support for are the 2022 Winter Olympic Games in Beijing, China. So China, always a source of controversy, especially in athletics. This year's no exception. A coalition representing, Uyghurs, yes. I guess is how you pronounce that. Tibetans, residents of Hong Kong, and others issued a statement calling for the boycott of China and their 2022 Winter Olympic Games. Would not be surprised if this movement expands beyond Asia. A lot of people are not pleased with what China's been doing for the last, well, long time, but most specifically, the last decade.
Right, especially with the Muslim Uyghurs in China. Do some Google, do some research. Do not be blind to the fact that they are being loaded onto trains. And just saying that sentence, being loaded onto trains is never a good thing.
And of course, knowing the history and current events of Hong Kong has a reason to disagree with a lot of Chinese politics right now. So makes sense why they would be part of this as well.
Also, the IOC is not only worried about the 2022 Olympic Games, but still the upcoming 2021 Olympic Games. As a recent poll showed that about 80% of Japanese residents would oppose the Olympics going forward because we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Despite what CDC says, the virus is still not under control. But hey, we're not a medical podcast.
Yeah. Moving on into the world of horse racing, which seems to be strangely hot over the last month.
Yes, that's because that's the Triple Crown.
Right. Yes. So it makes sense. Your second race in the Triple Crown, the Preakness, had its winner, a horse named Rombauer, won that one, which means, as we predicted, yes, there will be no Triple Crown winner this time. As if you recall last week's discussion, a horse was disqualified winning the Kentucky Derby because that horse was doping, or more accurately, the horse's ownership.
Medina Spirit, name of that horse.
Yeah. So, needless to say, the owner of that horse that we were talking about last week, Bob Baffert, has been suspended by the New York Racing Association, which of course disqualifies him from the last leg of the sport's Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes.
Because that takes place, 1, in New York, 2, he can't have any horse in there to run, and 3, his horse Medina Spirit lost anyways at the Preakness, so he can't win the Triple Crown anyways.
So, well, okay. Well, needless to say, yes, he's out.
Yes.
So,
but I still haven't seen any official release from the Kentucky Derby findings. So Medina Spirit is still currently the winner, but that could still change and affect history books.
Yes, as we talked about in our time traveling segment last week.
Yes.
Well,
anyways, lastly,
anything else happening in sports? Yes.
Was this really last week? So 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, the Los Angeles Angels decided to let go of Albert Pujols.
Yes.
The mighty Pujol was out of Los Angeles because he was batting 198, and they had other players. And Shohei Ohtani is being Ohtani things right now.
Yes.
In case you don't know, a pitcher is currently leading the entire MLB in home runs. I'll say that again because I don't think it's hammering home to people yet. A pitcher is leading the entire MLB, all of Major League Baseball, all players, in home runs. A pitcher.
Yeah. It's the 1900s all over again.
Apparently.
Yeah, no, it's been great to watch him play. He's actually pitching at a game that starts right now as we're recording. Fun fact.
Oh, you mean the one that's on the TV right here?
Yeah, that one exactly.
Weird how that works.
So yeah, exciting stuff to watch. So if you're a baseball fan, tune into some Angels games. He's quite a guy to watch. I have a jersey in the mail with his name on it.
So anyways, this story is actually not about Shohei Ohtani, but about Albert Pujols.
No. Right.
Future Hall of Famer Albert Pujols has left Los Angeles in order to join Los Angeles.
Yes. Before you go, huh? Yes, he's apparently made a deal with the Dodgers.
And we'll start with them in the coming days. I think today is his first day. No, yesterday. That's right.
Okay.
Yesterday he was in uniform. But here's the catch, though. This is not really a catch. Here's the downside of it. Because the Dodgers play in the National League, they don't have a DH.
Right.
It means Albert Pujols has to play defense in order to be able to bat.
Yes.
The Dodgers just so happen to be injury ridden at first base, so it works out for them. But when their players start coming back, who knows what's going to happen with Albert Pujols yet again.
Yeah, no, I would not be surprised if it ends up being kind of like a legacy pick and he just kind of rides the bench for a while after that.
I mean, seeing as the Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series, and it's just, hey, I'll ride the bench if it means I win a ring. I'm sure he will do that.
Because that's arguably why he was going to stick out with the Angels for the last season, right? Because he had a little bit of game left in him. He knew that there was a lot of talent on the team, and so it made sense for him to stick around.
Unfortunately, on the Angels, he was only batting maybe twice a week, once a week, if that.
Yeah.
He just didn't have a hot bat.
No. Couldn't get something going fast enough for him.
Nope.
So, yeah, it is what it is. It is disappointing, but at least he'll be able to continue playing, and he won't have to go very far.
Nope, just got a palette swap from red to blue.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, palette swap. Anyway, anything else in sports?
Yes, R.I.P. Mike Trout out for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
He's not dead. He's just, yes, he strained his calf, I believe is what the official word was. And so he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks.
10-day IL, but yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, for full recovery. So yeah, it'll be a while. But hey, it doesn't look like the team's too shaken up about it. We had a very close one last night. So if we're
until the pitchers blew it. Until the relievers.
Which is like the story of the team. So it's really kind of the thing. It always has been. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yes, interesting things happening in baseball in the city of Los Angeles right now.
And interesting things happening in baseball all around the league, as we've had yet another no-hitter being thrown. I think that makes it 8 this entire season so far. And I think the second one in Detroit. So lots of no-hitters being thrown about. Wonder if it has something to do with those baseballs that they messed with. Who can say?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I think that's it for sports.
Yeah, that's it for sports.
We talked about it last week, but let's just make it official. Both NBA and NHL playoffs are officially underway.
Yes.
So get your basketball playoffs on and get your hockey ice playoffs on as well.
Get excited. All right. With that, let's move on to something that doesn't have much to do with sports, or maybe it could potentially. But for now, this is a TV story. Actually, it spans media. And hey, we're the Media Boat Podcast. We have a boat full of it. Yeah, it's the perfect story for us to cover. This was the media story of the week, and it's all about Warner Media. So
Discovery Warner Media.
All of the above, turns out, because Warner Media is being spun off of AT&T. David Zaslav was officially named to lead a new combination of Warner Media and Discovery, sending shockwaves through the industry. Under terms of the deal, AT&T shareholders will control 71% of the new company, while Discovery shareholders would own 29%. The boards of both companies have approved the pact, and the transaction is expected to close in mid-2022, subject to approval by regulators and Discovery shareholders. In remarks made Monday morning, the executive vowed to run the combined entity. A new name will be unveiled later this week, with, quote, one culture, one mission. There was no position designated for Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar, And Zaslav offered no detail on a potential role for Jeff Zucker, the head of Warner Media's CNN and sports operations, who is slated to leave his current job at the end of 2021. Zaslav has led Discovery since 2007, and his relentless business focus has kept the company competitive, even though it is smaller in scale than several of its rivals. So yeah, out of nowhere, this kind of popped up, but it's not without its context. If you recall, over the last couple of years, there's actually been a lot of stories about AT&T really thinking about the assets that they own from the Warner purchase. We had a couple of stories last year that ended up not coming to fruition about the potential sale of Warner's video game division, which kind of hinted that AT&T was at least in a discovery phase, no pun intended, of figuring out what to do with stuff that they didn't know whether they wanted to hold on to. Meanwhile, Discovery, which is just a juggernaut, again, for the size that they are, which is not very big, they've carved out a niche for themselves. The launch of Discovery Plus proves that there's enough of a library and enough of a brand recognition there that they're bigger than a lot of people give them credit for. So it potentially makes a lot of sense for those two powers to be combined, and AT&T gets then a chance to distance themselves from media creation and lets them focus on what they do best, which is telecommunications. It's kind of a win-win deal, and unlike most consolidation efforts, it's not actually as scary because it's actually a large conglomerate divesting some power here as it is gobbling more up. It's an interesting move. Yes, it does create a media empire of sorts of its own by combining Discovery and Warner. But Warner was already pretty big by itself, and Discovery is Discovery. So it's an interesting story, and I think it's potentially interesting for what it might mean down the line. Will Discovery Plus content be just rolled up into HBO Max? Maybe. We'll see.
I mean, I would like that.
I'm sure you would.
But the big story that is the one that's sending people shockwaves is the fact that they're keeping on the Discovery, the head of Discovery, Zaslav, David Zaslav, and foregoing Warner Media CEOs Jason Kilar and Jeff Zucker.
But as the story says, it might be because they've been really impressed. The AT&T brass, at least, must have been really impressed with the way that Discovery has been run.
I mean, yeah, just look at what Discovery is and how they've been able to survive and basically, like you said, carve out that niche effort from their line of Food Network, Discovery, TLC. What's the other one? Not Bravo.
I believe Bravo actually is part of that.
Is that? I thought that was NBC.
No, you're right. You're right. Bravo is a Comcast thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but they have so many different boutique brands all under the roof. All you need to do is look at what Discovery Plus has in their library. You can see immediately, like, oh, they actually have a lot of stuff under their umbrella. So yeah.
So big moves being made. This also, like you said, brought up a lot of questions as to other Warner Media related stuff and whether it is also on the for sale block or chopping block.
Which we will mention again when we get to the video game section. But for now, we have so many more television stories that we had to collect them in a segment we like to call TV Bits.
Well, that was the big story, the Warner Media Discovery merger. So everything else just feels so small in comparison.
So let's go through them like little bits at the bottom of the fry bag. First up, hey, that Friends reunion we've been making jokes about forever. Hey, it's real and it's happening. The Friends reunion
happened.
Yes, has officially been filmed, but no one's seen it yet because its release date will be set for, wow, that's soon, May 27th.
It's 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So that's Memorial
all
Weekend.
Of your favorites.
27th, 28th. I
Yeah.
might have written that down wrong, but Memorial Weekend, we will get a Friends reunion on HBO Max special. But if you can't wait that long, or if you like Legos, there's a new Friends Lego set coming out.
Yes, because Hbo podcast known for their Lego coverage.
Yes, we are. We are very known for our Lego coverage. Visual
Anyway,
joke for everyone.
visual joke.
Yes, not watching the
Sorry,
YouTube.
audio
Visual
listeners.
joke.
Yes. All right. Speaking of visual jokes, no, that's not a good segue.
Oh,
Remember TBS? Remember TBS in the 90s, how when they would put up like a movie, like they would have like some sort of gimmick attached to it. Like remember Dinner and a Movie?
yes, it was Dinner and a Movie.
Yes.
They do like the whole cooking stuff or trivia or interstitials between commercial breaks.
Yeah, we watched a lot of Dinner and a Movie growing up. Well, they're bringing back a similar kind of thing, and this time Tiffany Haddish is coming along for the ride. TBS will have her be the host of Friday Night Vibes, a Friday night movie showcase for TBS. So yeah, everything old is new again.
Yeah, just means that Tiffany Haddish will bring on her friends to guest host with her, and hilarity most likely will ensue.
That's typically what happens. So
typically when you get into TBS.
Yeah.
Or Tiffany Haddish, whichever is the more funny one.
Next up, Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor of California, and also action movie star for years, is going to make his television debut. Yes, that sounds weird, but follow me here. With an untitled global espionage adventure project for Netflix.
So not really television,
no,
but streaming TV.
Yes. Goes to show you that is the rung of celebrity he's on right now, which is, hey, maybe I'll do a Netflix thing.
I mean, it's an 8-episode, 1-hour event, miniseries, series.
Sure, why not? Somebody wants to see that. Surely, somebody.
The description said action comedy where he is a CIA spy with his, I think it's uncasted part yet, daughter, who was also a CIA spy. And turns out they don't really know a whole lot about each other.
Yes.
But hey, that's what family's for. That's what family's for.
Just want to insert a little bit of TV news that you don't have here, but it fits right into the bits because it's very brief. Hey, if you're a fan of Disney's The Owl House, you'll be happy to know that there has been a date set for season 2. Will debut on July 13th, so not too far away.
Yeah, I saw that trailer, by the way. It's pretty good.
It, like a lot of the, it should be good. A lot of the Disney approach, it will be split into 2 parts, a season 2A and a season 2B. But then the additional news that came out of that was it also got renewed for a 3rd season. Although major quotes around season, it did not get a traditional purchase of episodes for the 3rd season of the show. Instead, it will take a slightly different approach. Stop me if this sounds Cartoon Network-esque, but instead of a full purchase, they are just doing 3 44-minute shorts that will continue the story where season 2 ends. They will probably be spread apart so that way there's room for, yes, I know you're shaking your head and disappointed. Christy did the same thing when I told Christy this story last night. Yes. So yeah, they're going to, and that's going to be it. They also announced that after those 3 specials, Owl House is over. Follows the Disney template of giving their shows 3 seasons and then the door.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hey, in a way, it sounds like from a creative point of view, they knew that was going to be the case. So it will end the way they want it to, which is all that really matters, is that just like Alex Hirsch said with Gravity Falls, they had a story, they told it, and they were done. And I feel like that's the way that Owl House is being approached as well. Meanwhile, if you're in tune to Disney animation drama, you may have been aware that the Amphibia season finale that was scheduled for 2 Saturdays ago got unceremoniously removed from the schedule by Disney for no explanation. It will finally air this Sunday at 8 p.m., a rare night primetime slot. So yes, if you've been waiting for the season finale of Amphibia, that is when that will air. Who knows what the hell they're doing it a lot of fans, including the creator of the show, Matt Braley, was very disappointed with Disney's treatment of the show out of nowhere. And so, yeah, at least they'll get their finale. But man, it just sucks being played with like that. But hopefully better things are around the corner for them. We'll see. Lastly, here in the bits, this is more of a movie bit now, isn't it?
Well, you skipped a music bit or TV bit.
Oh, I guess I could report on this. I didn't think it was important.
It's not important.
Hey, okay, so you've added this in, so I might as well say it. If you were a fan of the NBC sitcom Parks and Recreation, you may recall the in-universe band Mouse Rat, or Chris Pratt's character.
Yes, and before that, they were Rat Mouse, Table Trap, Hanukkah Horror, Horror of Hanukkahs, lots of other band names.
Anyway, well, they've transcended the reality of the television show and become very real, and are releasing an actual album of music called The Awesome Album on August 27th. So get ready for Chris Pratt singing more.
Yeah, if you enjoy Chris Pratt singing, which, okay, there's an album for you.
It's basically, I mean, if it's anything like the music in the show, expect a lot of songs that sound like Dave Matthews Band.
Yes.
Anyway. And then lastly, as I mentioned, this last bit is more of movie news, but if you're a musical theater fan, you may be aware that there's a trailer out there for the movie adaptation of the musical Dear Evan Hansen. So if that's something that you like, and our musical theater correspondent and friend of the show, Christy, is not here, but I'm sure she would have a lot to say about how she feels about Dear Evan Hansen as a show. Let me tell you, it is not positive. But yes, I understand that it has its fans, so yeah, get excited, I guess, if you're one of them.
Based on the trailer that I watched, I'm not sure how you should be a fan of this.
No, yeah, it's yeah.
But
like I said,
Christy you have to watch it to see it.
Yeah, Christy has her thoughts about it.
Dark subject material.
Yes, but also she just says it's just not very good. But I don't know. I'm taking her word for it. But who knows?
The lead guy who was the lead in Broadway is starring in this. So
right. Yes. So
you'll get the same kind of vibe, maybe.
At least the purists will be happy.
Throw quotes around that. Happy. Not purist. Happy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Did you watch any television this week? I believe it's the first week in a long time where we have nothing.
So I watched television.
Okay.
Last week, I reported that we did and finished House.
Yeah.
So, gotta start a new show somewhere, right?
Uh-huh.
Started at the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean a show that I had seen commercials on, but never really watched. And technically I put this on by accident. Because I was looking for a different show, thought it was this show, wasn't that show. But we ended up watching it anyways. So looking for a sports medical drama, which I later found out the name was Unnecessary Roughness. It's was a former USA show when they were still doing.
Yes, I remember this vaguely.
Yes. So that's the show I meant to put on because it's sports and doctor.
Right.
Right up our alley. Didn't put that show on.
Okay.
Instead, I guess you could call it the precursor to that show. And in essence, the precursor to all USA original shows. I know you're probably thinking Burn Notice, but not Burn Notice. Royal Pain.
Right.
93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kind of put it on by accident, but we're also kind of hooked now. So new show to watch. It's got like 6 seasons. All of them are available on Peacock. And it's on-call doctor dealing with rich people problems, which is like the right kind of, I don't need to pay attention to this, but also every now and then a house-like scenario case will pop up. And it's like, ooh, interesting medical mystery.
Yeah, makes sense as a follow-up to Finishing House. It's similar in vibe. And I'm sure there's a lot of it because it was a USA show.
Like I said, about 6 or 7 seasons.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's the new show that we are watching. And apparently it had good reviews. I mean, I've always seen the commercials for it, never watched it. But hey, got around to it.
Cool.
Yep. Part of like back
All right.
catalog of streaming everything.
But nothing new. So that means
yes, nothing new, but because we are in May, a lot of TV shows are doing their finales within the next couple of weeks. Make sure you're watching your own finales to know when they go off. But this also means that summer game shows and summer cheap shows are coming right around the corner.
Summer replacement season is happening before you know it. All right. Well, in that case, let's move on to our next segment, which is cancellations and renewals.
All right. What am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching The Banker's Wife on Amazon Prime, which is a show that I just heard about just now because it was canceled after one season.
Minus one season.
Oh, it never even premiered. That's even better.
It was supposed to start shooting. It got greenlit in 2019. Supposed to start shooting in 2020. Never did because of the pandemic, and officially canceled because they never could get everyone back to shooting.
Got it. Meanwhile, ABC has decided that Blackish is about to wrap up, as the 8th season of that show will be its last.
Yep. One last season for Blackish.
That being said, it will be survived by its many, many spinoffs.
Or will it?
I'm sure it will. Anyway, now no more cancellations, but man, do we have a lot of renewals to talk about. We have them gathered conveniently in I guess we do have some cancellations, but mostly renewals here, and we have them gathered by network. Let's take it to ABC first. They've gone ahead and renewed America's Funniest Home Videos, aka AFV, American Idol, Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, Shark Tank, and Supermarket Sweep. The Connors, The Goldbergs, Home Economics, A Million Little Things, and The Rookie. So all of those shows coming back.
So a lot of their hit lineup is coming back.
Well, what isn't coming back to ABC, you're probably thinking? Getting the axe are American Housewife, Call Your Mother, For Life, Mixed-ish. Okay, so at least one spinoff of Blackish also gets canceled, and Rebel. So there you go. Those are the ones who did not survive.
Right. It means you can put a -1 in my column because I thought Call Your Mother would survive.
No,
apparently not.
Didn't make it.
Sorry, Kira Sedgwick. Apologies. Go Call Your Mother.
Yes. Meanwhile, over at Fox, they've renewed 911, 911: Lone Star, The Resident, The Masked Singer, and The Masked Dancer, as well as animated show The Great North. So there you go.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but apparently Fox during the summer will slowly creep from animation domination Sundays to animated Monday series as well.
Oh, interesting. Well, they have so many and they're planning on more, so they got to stretch them out, I suppose, throughout the week. So it makes sense. Then lastly, NBC, or not lastly, NBC has also renewed Law & Order Organized Crime for a second season. Over at Paramount Plus, they've renewed Clarice for a second season. Was that initially a CBS network show, or has that always been on streaming?
So the next 3 are getting the move.
Okay. I thought for sure that season 1 was on network. Okay, that makes sense. They're also bringing back SEAL Team for a 4th season and Evil for a 2nd season.
So all 3 of those shows, Clarice, SEAL Team, and Evil, are currently airing on CBS. But future seasons going forward, they're moving it to Paramount Plus.
The pivot to streaming, as they say. If you're still watching network CBS, though, they've renewed a few shows and canceled a few. Be Positive will be coming back for a 2nd season, as will United States of Al. However, All Rise and The Unicorn, I think this is also one that you thought would last for another one, get the axe after 2 seasons.
I guess people just weren't watching those shows.
Guess not.
Yeah, I did like The Unicorn. I guess now I can just binge watch the whole season.
There you go. It's just over.
Oh, series.
And NBC is also bringing back The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon for at least another 5 seasons. So get ready, get used to seeing Jimmy Fallon every week.
Sorry, Seth Meyers. You got to wait another 5 years.
TBS is bringing back Chad for a second season, which, oh boy, season 1's airing right now. I have not watched this thing, but all the advertisement I have seen just make me so sad. I don't know. Long viewers of this podcast will know how I feel about Nasim Pedrad. I want her to succeed. I want her to be successful. But man, I didn't want it like this. Not like this.
So I caught half an episode of this last night because that's about all I could stomach was about half an episode. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, boy. Like I said, I like Nasim Pedrad, but this is basically taking my least favorite part of her tenure on SNL, which is when she played a teenage boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, some point she got in her head that that's funny to her and maybe other people. I never really got where she was going with it. And now she has an entire show where that's the premise. So, hey, I don't know.
But isn't she also like 30?
Oh, she's older than that now. Anyway. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird choice, and it's a weird show, but hey, I guess somebody's watching it. TBS is also bringing back Wipeout, because they inherited that from ABC, as you know, for an 8th season.
Well, combined. It seems like it's the second one on TBS, but
right.
Combined 8th season.
Lastly, in the cancellations and renewals, Fast Foodies, a show that you've talked about here on True TV, gets a 2nd season. So there you go.
I put one in the column then.
You got one. You got one.
I got one.
Well, unfortunately, we have more than one of his deaths. We have 3 this week. First up, Patsy Bruce, age 81, songwriter, wrote "Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys." Famous.
Oh, you're not going to sing it?
No.
I mean, famous quote too, but yeah, famous song.
Next up, Charles Grodin, age 86, an actor who's in The Heartbreak Kid, Midnight Run, Beethoven, won an Emmy back in 1978. A legend of screen and stage. So you'll be missed. And lastly, Paul Mooney, age 79, an actor as well. Buddy Holly story, Bamboozled, and also a writer for Chappelle's Show in the 2000s. So yeah,
I think he was also an actor on there as well, but one of Dave Chappelle's writers, lot of mentions for him I've seen on social media.
Yeah. So yes, will be missed. Let's move on, though. I toss this over to you, and we start talking about some music.
All right, and we start music with the Billboard, and we start the Billboard with the Hot 100. Hey, guess what? If you've been in the top 5 for 7 weeks, you too can eventually make it to number 1. Because Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic is your number 1 song this week.
Not the first time, I want to say. It has been number 1 before. But basically, you're right. This is
at number 1, but then it's just been hanging around.
So this is a scramble week.
Mm-hmm. A little bit, because at number 2, we have Levitating by Dua Lipa featuring DaBaby. At 3, Peaches by Justin Bieber featuring Danielle Caesar and Giveon. At 4, Save Your Tears by The Weeknd and Ariana Grande. And entering the top 5, Kiss Me More by Doja Cat featuring SZA.
It was also our number 5 last week. It is not entering it, but yeah, it's still around.
I don't remember it from last week.
It was there.
Okay, I remember it's just a jumble.
Because I remember
all these were top 5.
I remember thinking, I remember thinking that, I hope he knows how to pronounce SZA, and you did. So
yeah.
Anyway.
As for your albums chart, your Billboard 200, number 1 album is A Gangsta's Pain by Moneybagg Yo.
Back at number 1 after a couple weeks down.
And number 2, Danger Rest, the double album by Morgan Wallen.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping to number 3, Khaled by DJ Khaled. At 4, Justice by Justin Bieber. And Hi, welcome back to the top 5. Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa.
Yeah, surprised there because not really any clear reason for the bump. But hey, good to see it back.
Oh, I could give a reason for the bump.
Okay.
Technically it kind of ties into music stories, but I'll tell you my thoughts about that when we get there. Because first,
Okay.
we got to get to new releases.
Yes, we do.
So, lots of new releases this week and a little bit of
Yeah.
everything for someone. Or a little something for everything.
I think so.
A little everything for something. All right. First up, Body Language by Blake Shelton. Yes, that Blake Shelton. Wink by Chai. By Chai. It's all caps. We also have Standing in the Doorway, Chrissy Hind sings Bob Dylan by Chrissy Hind.
I like how you tried both pronunciations to make sure you spread out your bet there.
Yes. Intruder by Gary Newman. Long Lost by Lord Huron. Mickey Dolenz sings Nesmith by Mickey Dolenz. I think it's Nesmith, right?
Naismith.
Naismith. Wow. All right. American Quilt by Paula Cole. Scaled and Icy by 21 Pilots. Yes, those 21 Pilots. But your future #1 album, I say that because I think it skips a week, is going to be Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. Now, she did put out a new single earlier this week, which I assume is going to chart next week.
Yes.
And then Sour will probably chart as well, because right now, Olivia Rodrigo is hot.
So yeah, she's everywhere. She was she was the musical guest on SNL last weekend. And yeah, the new single is probably the best thing she's put out so far, in my opinion. I really dig this new song. So yeah, I'm going to try this out. I think you're right. This will probably be your #1 record. And yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see young talent really showing up.
So you like this new song more than Driver's License and whatever the song she put out post Driver's License?
I do personally, yeah. I think it's better than Driver's License and Deja Vu, which was the second single. Friend of the show, Christy, though, preferred Deja Vu. But yeah, it's shows that she has range because all 3 of those songs have been different from each other. So I'm really interested to see what this whole record sounds like.
Well, hopefully it doesn't sour your feelings about her.
All right, you're in podcast jail now. All right, let's move on. What's going on in music news? Tell me about it.
So the first bit of music news is really an overall encompassing thing, but we're going to focus on one thing in particular.
Yes.
So we were confused about why, maybe 5 minutes ago, why Dua Lipa was all of a sudden back in the album chart as the top 5. Well, she may not be the only one getting that kind of bump. By that kind of bump, I mean ticket bumps, because all I've seen for the past week, since the CDC lifted their guidelines last Wednesday, is ticket sales for concerts going up everywhere left and right. Every single artist apparently is announcing their tour and just saying, come buy tickets right now. I'd realize that doesn't really quite correlate to why she's got the bump, because it takes about a week for it to hit. But every single artist that I've seen, all my Facebook ads are now spammed with them. Come see us in concert. Please come see us in concert everywhere. Including the big concert, Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and did they get some names for Lollapalooza?
They sure did.
Why pay for an individual band's concert when you could go somewhere and see all the bands in concert? By all the bands, I mean Foo Fighters, Post Malone. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Recently inducted Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Post Malone, Tyler, the Creator, Miley Cyrus, Da Baby, Marshmello, Illenium, Megan the Stallion, Roddy Rich and his box, and Journey. Yes, that Journey.
That Journey.
They're all top billed headliners for Lollapalooza 2021, taking place July 29th through August 1st at its usual location of Grant Park in Chicago, right next to the Giant Bean. Also on the lineup, as if all those artists weren't enough to get you to buy a ticket, you can also see these artists in concert, including Young Thug, Alice in Wonderland, Brittany Howard, Love, Kim Petras, Omar Apollo, Ash, LP, Jacob Banks, Olivia O'Brien, Princess Nokia, Trevor Daniel, and my personal favorite, various artists.
Yes.
The full the full lineup appears on the poster below.
Oh, well, imagine the poster is in front of you right now.
While the lineup is largely a characteristic mix of alternative hip hop electronic artists, Lollapalooza always throws a couple of wild cards into the mix, and they kind of outdid themselves this year with both 70s and 80s pop titans Journey and 90s rap metal brawlers Limp Bizkit. Yes, that Limp Bizkit. As if all these other band names couldn't get you to go, Limp Bizkit is also there to get you to go to Lollapalooza.
Or get you to stay home. That's also the option there for Limp Bizkit.
Quote, in accordance with current local public health guidance, full COVID-19 vaccinations or negative COVID-19 test results will be required to attend Lollapalooza 2021.
Yeah.
For patrons who are not fully vaccinated, a negative COVID-19 test must be obtained within 24 hours of attending Lollapalooza each day.
So yeah, you get why they have to do this, because otherwise doing it right now seems like a really stupid idea. And it might still be a really stupid idea, but at least they're taking some precautions. One thing though to note here, this doesn't necessarily say how they're asking you to prove that you've been vaccinated. As been the conversation pretty much since the CDC announced their easing back of mask rules for the vaccinated. A lot of people are questioning, yeah, but aren't people just gonna lie?
Well,
And so,
according to Dr. House, everybody lies.
Wow, what a time to watch a bunch of House.
I know, right?
Get really cynical about your health. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know if I would recommend going to Lollapalooza on that basis, but if you feel comfortable and you feel like it's safe and you're close enough where it's not a big investment to go, it's there. I mean, tickets are probably going to be exorbitantly expensive, but hey, you do you, I guess.
It does say, or at least it doesn't say that masks are required or enforced, but
it doesn't. So
I mean, I don't think they're going to tell you don't wear a mask.
No, of course not. But I would not be surprised if a lot of people were not wearing them. So yes. Be warned.
As more stuff comes out, that even though you are vaccinated, you could still be asymptomatic and pass it on to other people. Vaccinations prevent you from getting sick, does not prevent you from spreading said sickness.
That being said, though, to be 100%
or get down with the sickness.
Yeah, well, yes.
You got
to be 100 to be 100% fair here. That was the initial guidance. The CDC has since said that they're actually fairly certain that it doesn't spread like they thought it did initially. However,
tests are still being
done. Recommended because it's more about the psychological aspect of it. If you're complying, other people who are not vaccinated will comply as well, et cetera. You get it. It's basically being in it together is the important part. and having a lot of people not do like verge from the narrative and do their own thing is the thing that's screwing it up. So yeah, just that's the focus. Do what you feel comfortable doing. If you still want to wear your mask, absolutely wear your mask. Don't let anybody tell you to not do it. That's
As the
my feeling.
Wildcats sing in High School Musical, the
Yes.
musical, the series, we're all in this together.
It's true. It's true. So yeah, maybe don't go to Lollapalooza is what I'm saying.
We're due. It might be the last time you see Limp Bizkit anywhere.
Is there something I don't know about Fred Durst? All right, let's move on to our second story here.
But yes, if you're not interested in Lollapalooza, might be a good time to, if you are itching to go to a concert, look up your favorite band. Chances are they're on tour very soon and have put tickets out.
Could be the case.
Oh God, I just saw constant tickets. I was like, oh, so that's where my bank account is going to go next. Just buy, reserve. Like between now and the following year. Ugh, so many possible concerts to go to. Well, if you want to bring the sound of a concert to your home, or want to have the artist basically come and sing to your home, you could pay exorbitant amounts of dollars to hire said artist to come and sing directly to you. Or you could get Apple Music, because Apple Music announced that Apple Music is bringing, quote, industry-leading sound quality to its subscribers with the addition of spatial audio with support from Dolby Atmos. According to the announcement, spatial audio, quote, gives artists the opportunity to create immersive audio experiences for their fans with true multi-dimensional sound and clarity. Apple Music subscribers will also be able to listen to more than 75 million songs in high-quality lossless audio, the way the artists intended them to be created in the studio. These new features will be available for Apple Music subscribers starting next month at no additional cost.
Yes.
It's just rolled right in. If you subscribe to Apple Music, you can get this starting next month.
Yep. That is, as they say, the kicker.
Right. Comes with the new Apple update. However, you still need something to play this on.
Yes.
You still need a digital to analog converter.
So there's actually more to do with this that I need to kind of get across, because there's a lot of people that are very confused about this rollout. Okay, there's a division here that Apple's making between the lossless streaming and the Dolby Atmos streaming. Mm-hmm. The reason why they're making the differentiation is because 9 out of 10 of the people who have Apple Music are not going to be able to take advantage of the Dolby Atmos stuff, because it only works with devices like earphones or earbuds that have the chip that makes it work. And as of right now, the only ones on the market are, hey, what do you know, Apple's own AirPods and AirPods Pro. Not even their AirPod Max, the over-the-ear thing that they put out last year. That's not a Dolby Atmos supported product, because it has a different kind of chip in it. As of this writing, the only way to get this Dolby Atmos is with a pair of AirPods, current second generation AirPods, or AirPod Pros. Do you have anything else? No Dolby Atmos for you. It's wild. I don't know why they're doing this. I mean, of course, future, they'll probably make deals with other manufacturers to have more products on the market that will take advantage of this feature. It just seems weird, but I guess they're relying on the millions, I'm sure, of AirPods that have been sold to kind of buoy this idea. As for the lossless thing, yes, you're right. As you were saying, lossless music is not for everyone. You know, like chances are you may not, if you haven't invested a lot of money into high-priced sound equipment, you're not going to be able to really tell the difference between the 128K file that they were streaming before and the 16-bit, 24-bit files that they're going to start streaming in the future. So yeah, chances are this won't mean anything to you, but it is very, very nice of Apple to offer this with no extra charge, because Spotify, on the other hand, when they announced their lossless service, they said it would be a premium tier above the existing premium tier. Which brings us to the second half of the story about the other Apple Music rival.
Yes, because Apple Music uses its own lossless proprietary use of AFLAC. Ever heard of AFLAC? Of course not, because that A stands for Apple.
I have.
So that's how they're using their own proprietary software devices. So you're stuck in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not in the ecosystem, like some people, Amazon Music, literally about 35, 40 minutes after Apple made the announcement, decided that they would announce Amazon Music HD, the high quality streaming tier that it launched.
Just to be clear, they didn't announce it. It's already existing, but they did announce a new thing about it.
Yes. The Amazon Music HD will be available to all eligible Amazon Music Unlimited subscribers at no extra cost, whereas previously it was available for $5 a month, where its customers, Amazon's customers, can stream more than 70 million lossless high-definition songs with a bit depth of 16 bits and a sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz, which is CD quality. Customers can also stream more than 7 million songs in Ultra HD, or better than CD quality.
So yeah, what this basically means is if you're already in the Amazon Music system, you'll be upgraded to this automatically, and you'll be able to take advantage of this if you want to, with no additional cost. That $5 mark that you mentioned, by the way, is on top of the existing monthly cost. It was $5 plus for the lossless tier, but now it'll be for everybody. So one thing additional about this puts every big music streaming thing at parity with each other, except for Spotify and Google. YouTube, because they rolled everything into YouTube, that doesn't necessarily have an equivalent to this, because it's a video thing more than it is a music thing. And then Spotify announced their lossless tier, but have not launched it yet. So balls in it, Spotify's court right now. They're the biggest player in this field. It'll be up to them to see if they match them with price here. Also in this conversation, of course, is Tidal, which was the OG in this field, because they were the first one to do lossless audio streaming.
Right, and that was the big thing about Tidal, is it's from the artists, for fans of the artists.
But
well, now everyone gets lossless.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, is that now Tidal's pricing seems insane compared, because the highest tier to get the same level of quality that they are offering now for free over at Apple and Amazon is $20 a month. That's twice the price of both of those services.
You mean I could get both of those services before I get Tidal?
Right,
and
you would be paying the same amount of money. Yep. So yeah, Apple stuff will start next month. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll be able to report back since I have an Apple Music subscription and a pair of AirPod Max. So I will, or not X Pros. So I'll be able to report back to see how that stuff works. But yeah, weird times. Although I would be remiss to mention, some people are talking about the potential environmental cost of this. If you recall our conversation about NFTs, anything that requires a lot of servers to be spun up for a long time to make something happen does have an environmental impact. And so basically, a person on my Twitter feed put it this way: it's the giving everybody who is paying an exact like a single rate for a music streaming service the ability to stream anything lossless. He likened to giving anybody who has a car the keys to a Ferrari. It's immediately going to change the amount of like fuel you're using, as a metaphor. And so there is that to think about here, that it's not, it's going to be more of a cost, but streaming already is a cost. So yeah, just keep that in mind. No ethical consumption under capitalism, the whole thing. Anyway, let's move on to something else.
Yes, let's move on to some better stories, as in stuff we listen to.
Yeah, we got plenty. If you want to hear what we think about music, well, you come to the right place.
Okay, so typically we front load our stuff with movies and TV stuff with thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while comes along an episode where we have a shit ton of albums we listen to.
It's because this is the prime time to release music. The months right before summer, you always see big releases because everybody wants to be summer jam.
You gotta get that summer jam in.
Yeah, gotta get the summer jams.
Yep. And nothing quite says summer jam like releasing an album that you've already released.
What?
Yeah, that's right. I'm talking Kenny Chesney. So last year, Kenny Chesney released Here and Now. But then about December, about 6 months later, it was taken off streaming services. And I was confused. But then I wasn't. Because Kenny Chesney puts out an album to sell concert tickets. If you don't have a concert, why put out an album?
To him, at least, yes. To someone who has created his current career on being a live artist first and a recorded artist second. Yes, it makes sense.
Yes. So Kenny Chesney withdrew, or Kenny Chesney's publishing company withdrew all of its, or most of its catalog that was Here and Now, because they were going to re-release it for this summer with a deluxe edition, so it could be new album just in time for his concert to come back. His comeback tour, as in come back to the tour. So Kenny Chesney Here and Now Deluxe Edition is the new album that was out this past week. Man, I love me some Kenny Chesney. It's the exact same album with 3 new songs. Unfortunately, the 3 new songs don't really add a whole lot to the already existing album. But I'll say what I said last time about this album. He knows how to put out a pretty good album. I'm just glad to have this album back in rotation.
Yeah.
I really don't care for the 3 new bonus songs. I think one of them works, but definitely not at the end in the way the album is constructed. It's not fair to just tack on high-powered anthem songs right after you get into the low, kind of somber, kind of more soulful songs that Kenny Chesney has that kind of close out an album, and then you ramp it right back up for 3 additional songs.
Which brings me to the question that I ask you every single time we talk about a Kenny Chesney record on this podcast. There are 2 Kenny Chesneys: Party at the Beach Kenny Chesney and Song About Something Really Dramatic Kenny Chesney. For the bulk of the record, I know you kind of just sort of answered this question by saying that the last few songs are kind of bummers. But as for the whole vibe of the record, is this party or downer?
Oh no, this is definitely party, especially when the ending song on this album, or original ending song, was Guys Named Captain. It still works as a good ending song. Unfortunately, it kind of does get ruined by adding 3 bonus tracks at the end of it.
Tracks. The easy thing to do, and what I typically do with that, is if you're on a streaming service, I will just do individual track selection and just leave off the bonuses when I'm putting it in my library. Right. That's a pro tip for you at home. That's also good for reissues, and you don't want to hear the demos or the live cuts. Just do that. Anyway.
Yeah. Kenny Chesney Here and Now back in audio rotation.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I do like about Kenny Chesney is that his stuff's new. It's rolls with the times.
Yeah.
Some people don't like that. They want old country. They want to bring back old country where it's guitars and steel guitars and drums and bass and none of this new electrical high engineering stuff.
Back when country artists wore cowboy hats and not baseball caps.
Correct.
That's the person wearing a baseball cap. So tell me about the other country record this week.
Alan Jackson, Where Have You Gone? Which is a very apt title for the album because it's where have you gone, country? Why have you left and gone to this new sound that I don't know what this is? So before he put out this album, he put out a statement basically saying just that he thinks the current scene of country music is absurd, it's unrecognizable, and think it will be the death of country music. And as you have constantly alluded to, marching head straight into the mono genre.
Yeah.
I mean, even the artists that we talk about on here kind of blend the line between country and pop. And as we know, if you're able, as Taylor Swift has so proudly shown, if you're able to blend that genre and ride that wave, you can become an uber success.
Yeah.
And a lot of big country artists do that. Lady Antebellum, Blake Shelton, even Luke Bryan and Florida Georgia Line, all big names in the country scene. Their songs aren't traditional country. It's like this pop country.
Yeah.
So Alan Jackson, being 30 and grumpy, frumpy old man.
30.
Okay, sorry, being 30 years in the business.
Big difference there.
Oh yeah. Being 30
man
plus years in the
30
business. Being frumpy, grumpy old man. Has put out an album that literally harkens back to that classic 90s song. If you put this up with his other songs like Chattahoochee, no difference, which puts me into a really weird take on it of if you're not doing anything new, and if this album could be put out at any single time in your career, is it really an album worth putting out?
It's the age-old question, right?
It's the age-old question.
It's the age-old question about whether you want your favorite artist to put the same thing out every single time with minor variation, or if you want them to try something drastically different. And it's consistently been the dividing line between fans of every band. I'm sure even if you go back to the 60s, there were probably people who were very upset when they put Revolver on their turntable. They're like, well, I liked the Beatles before. What's this weird instrument they're using on this song? I don't get it. Since there have been bands that have put out studio albums, there's always been this division of fans who are like, I just want the thing that I like. And the fans that are like, it's boring. Try something new. And musicians traditionally are the ones who are like, actually, I would love to try something new, but they won't let me, kind of pointing at the fans. It's been the traditional relationship. The exception to that rule, though, and you've pointed at this, is a certain segment of country music. And that is because country music, as we've talked about in this podcast before, is a classically conservative genre that doesn't like change. That's slowly changing, but you still have your stalwarts like Alan Jackson. But if the fans are disappointed, he's eventually going to have to think about this. But maybe we're not there yet, because I'm sure he's going to sell out the next tour that he does.
Probably because he sold out his last tour, which was 6 years ago. I know it's 6 years ago because I went to that concert tour.
Because you were there.
I was there. I witnessed it. Front row and everything.
You were there.
It was my indoctrination into into country music. I mean, throw me into the deep end, why don't you, with Alan Jackson? But yeah, so he hasn't put out an album in those 6 years. And to come out with an album that is very reminiscent of his old music, of what country music used to be. It works. It plays. I just don't know if it necessarily plays in 2021, if this thing could have come out 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
That's just my big struggle
enough.
with it. But if you like old style country music, this is a good album for that. If you like new style country music, you might be wondering, how is this guy still putting out music? He needs to go be like the cows and go out to pasture. But he's been around
like
for, like I said, 30 plus years, to the point that he's kind of at that stage where he has the legacy built. He is now a legacy act. He's going to put out the songs that he wants, and you can't really change his mind on anything.
Fair
But
enough.
is it a good album?
Well, so I guess
mileage may vary.
I guess, yeah, it's fair to say that if you think that you're gonna like this, chances are you're probably right.
Yes. Oh, but if you somehow go to a country wedding, expect the bride to play the new song off this album. It's like I think it's called Father's Daughter Dance, but it was written for his daughter's wedding. And that thing will bring a tear to everyone's eye. He sang it at the ACMs like 2 weeks ago, and not a dry eye in the house after that. So yeah, if you go to any country wedding, this is probably going to be that song being played for a while. You can call it a house song because you can easily buy a house with this song.
Another
house
one,
it with that one. Let me get you the actual name for it, because you will, like, no doubt you will hear this thing like everywhere. But yeah, your mileage may vary. Not Daddy Let Me Drive, the other one. Oh, You'll Always Be My Baby. That's the name of it. Which is a very daddy song.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we're here to talk about daddy songs. In fact, that's a perfect segue. Thank you so much. I know you weren't trying to do a segue there, but you actually did a really good one.
So yes, tell me.
To a record
that when Daddy's Always Be My Baby, Daddy song. Tell me about Daddy's Home.
Okay, all right. Real quick, do you want to quickly give your media boat recommendations for those two records?
For Alec Jackson, mileage may vary. For Kenny Chesney, there is no recommendation because it's an album that already came out.
Yeah, fair
It's just 3 bonus songs.
All right. So yeah, however you feel about your daddy, just be happy that, I don't know about your individual fathers out there, if you have them or not. But yeah, just be happy that they're not in prison, because that was the thing, unless they are, again, who knows? But yeah, that was apparently what St. Vincent was dealing with for a bulk of her life. And she happened to just have put out a record where the theme is largely about that experience. So as you said, it's called Daddy's Home. If you know anything about St. Vincent, she's very out there. Every single record she's put out, she's largely done in like a character. It's always been kind of experimental. She likes guitars, but she's not exclusively a guitar artist. She likes to mess around with synthesizers and different kinds of instruments for a really weird, like flexible sound that changes from era to era. She can be compared to your Lady Gagas and your David Bowies in that way, where she's constantly trying out different things. But in a Gaga-esque move, around the a certain era of Gaga's music, this was St. Vincent saying, like, actually, this one's going to be more about a personal story. Except, is what I say after listening to this thing, because I don't know if it really is. So yes, a lot of the content of the songs is vaguely references her experience with her father, who was imprisoned. He was involved in some white collar crime. Before you start guessing about what the thing was, it was financial related. So,
not real prison though.
Maybe Yeah, exactly. It definitely adds to kind of a complication when you start talking about like prison and like the larger prison industrial complex and things. Yeah, it gets complicated, and she's aware of it. She said in statements around the release of this record that she is not trying to glorify anything. She's not trying to say that her father was right in any way, and that she does still believe that in the abolishment of prison and the reformation of prisons and stuff like that. So she has made that clear outside of the record, but inside of the record, it has taken the stance of like, hey, I'm playing a character here, and this character is in this kind of like smoky 70s kind of expired, drug-addled kind of expired kind of sound. So imagine you're going into like Studio 54 in 1976 and you get an idea of the vibe that this record is going for. It's murky. It's like there's synths, but they're muddy. All the effects on this are really echoey, and her vocals are very obscured by like just being very affected. And that's the vibe of this whole thing, and it kind of translates into kind of a slog. I was pretty disappointed by this thing. Imagine if Lana Del Rey's last record was even more of a hassle to listen to. Like if she had like taken all the like very long syrupy ballads from that thing and it just piled on a billion effects. And it's not surprising when you find out this was yet another Jack Antonoff joint. He had worked with St. Vincent on her last record as well, so it's not surprising he reappears here. And it doesn't necessarily sound super Antonoff-y, but it does have there's a through line from that last Lana Del Rey record into this one, I think, and it's very telling. So yeah, I didn't enjoy my time with it. I think there's some interesting sounds on it. There's some interesting content there. There's a lot of talk about, like, as St. Vincent's want to do, there's a lot of talk about the place of women, but in this context, in this kind of 70s style context, it does allow her to play around with it more than she has, and kind of putting herself in these characters of people who lived in an era that is not hers. It's interesting, I'll say that much about it, but I didn't particularly enjoy the process of actually listening to the record. So I'm gonna say this one's a pass, just personally.
It's a pass?
Yeah, I didn't care for it. But hey, your mileage may vary, as we like to say here.
All right.
But let's do a couple other things that I'll get through real quick here.
Okay. Tell me about basketball star J. Cole.
So not only is the man a basketball star, but he likes to think of himself as a rapper. In fact, he talks a big game about himself. He's kind of known for being a penchant for skill in rapping. Think like a certain era of Jay-Z or a certain era of Kanye West, or like the current era of Eminem, where the focus is on verbal gymnastics more than it is about like content, although he does actually think about content a lot. J. Cole is what a lot of people call a rapper's rapper, because it's like he's very aware that he's trying to make the perfect statement rap record, and depending on who you are, it either hits for you or it comes across as corny to a lot of people. So yeah, it really depends on what your kind of taste in rap is, what kind of side of the fence you land on with J. Cole. I'm kind of straddling the fence. I don't really go either way with it. And this new record, The Off Season, kind of proves that that's generally where I'm still gonna landing on J. Cole. It's very technically well done. There's some really impressive verses here. He definitely has taken notes over the last couple of decades of great rap records, and been trying to replicate that for a long time. And this also tries to replicate that. So expect a lot of songs with big string sections, a lot of songs with big vamping choruses, or like a especially ranty bridge that changes the tempo, or guest spots with a lot of current favorites like 21 Savage and Lil Jon shows up. It's, yeah, and he definitely has taken a lot of notes. He's studied to the point where he's basically putting out something that a lot of people could hear and be like, oh, it's very clear that he's trying to make a big rap record. Is he 100% successful in it? It's okay. I think it's a little long, like a lot of modern rap records are. I think it's a little samey towards the end. I think I was engaged for the first half and then kind of dropped off for side B. But yeah, there's some really good lines in it. I think there's really good technical rapping, like I said, and thematically he does address some issues like Black Lives Matter. One thing that he does pop up a few times though is that there's a lot of bragging about how much money he has, which again in 2021, will either hit you one way or the other. But hey, if that's what you're into and you like J. Cole's previous stuff, you'll probably like this just fine. And it's a solid rap record in a time where we don't have a whole lot of them. So, and Siri wants to talk apparently about this. So yeah, that's J. Cole. I'd say it's probably a stream it because it's not bad. It's a decent rap record.
Okay, so just decent.
Yeah.
So like a rapper's record.
Sure. Yeah. Then lastly, this will be a really quick one. Hey, do you like the Black Keys?
I used to, but yes, go on.
Well, if you still like the Black Keys. Okay, let's say if you do. Hey, remember our conversation about the Marfa tapes last week?
Yes.
Well, imagine that conversation except about the Black Keys and about blues music. If you want a stripped down blues record by the Black Keys with not a whole lot of studio stuff in it, that's what you want. This is your record. This is just a record of covers of famous blues songs that the Black Keys love, done in a stripped down traditional fashion. This is what this is. It's not radio friendly. It's not like the big hits that they've had. It's just blues riffs for a good 40 minutes. You just can imagine that you're just in a bar, you're drinking, you're enjoying this blues band playing, and it just happens to be the Black Keys. And that's what you're getting here.
Now, in this blues bar, are they only playing the Black Keys, or do they play the white ones as well?
There's sometimes they play the white ones.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're a blues fan, if you like classic blues music, there's a lot to like here. I enjoyed it, not having a particular interest in blues as a genre, but it's fun. And they get really into it. You can tell that they have a passion for this music. It's the reason why they are musicians. And yeah, it's definitely a couple of now veterans. They've been in the game for over a decade now, just trying out some classics, and they're having a bunch of fun with it.
Yeah, I guess it has been over 10 years.
Yeah. But yes, if you're expecting a big single like they used to have nearly a decade ago, this is not that. This is a lot more traditional. But hey, it's fun.
So traditional stripped down blues by the Black Keys. And that's Delta Cream.
Yep, okay. That's Delta Cream. So there you go. That was a lot of music.
All right. Did you listen to anything else?
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. I went back to Taylor's version of songs for a bit there.
Okay.
In between listening to country songs, country albums. It's nice. It's a good album.
Yeah.
Might have to put out Folklore again.
Rumors are swirling about the release date of the Wildest Dreams single, implying that 1989 will be the next Taylor's version. But we'll see.
As rumors do swirl. But we don't deal in rumors. Or at least we try not to deal in rumors.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes. But we do deal in video games. Not physically, but musically. Wait, that came out wrong.
Yes. Musically.
So let's get to the video game, shall we then? And we start with new releases, including Outbreak, Endless Nightmares for the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, Switch, and PC. If you own it, you can play it. Outbreak, Endless Nightmares. We also have Rust, for the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yep, console version of the PC game.
Miitopia for the Switch.
Yes. Yeah, bigger Switch release. I believe there's a demo out now for that if you want to give it a try. I did not before this podcast, but I'll probably play it before next week. But yeah, fun. You can put your friends in a need-based game where you can kind of go on an adventure. It's pretty cool.
We also have Knockout City for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is that dodgeball game.
This is that dodgeball game.
We also
Coming to Game Pass, by the way, very soon. So if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you'll be able to play this with your subscription.
We also Biomutant for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Man Eater for the Switch.
That's that shark game.
That's it. It's the shark game. That's not the musical game by Hall Notes.
Right. It's not no relation to the Hall Notes song or the Nelly Furtado song. Haven't thought about that in years, I bet.
Well, no, because everyone always thinks of the Hall Notes song.
Right.
We also have, oh God, what year is it? Saints Row the Third remastered. Surprised they didn't put remastered again, because that's something they would do.
Right.
But yeah, remember Saints Row the Third and how much you liked that game? Well,
it's
if
a
you're
game.
not playing it on was it PlayStation View or PlayStation Now or Xbox Live arcade game style, whatever, it's coming to the next generation. Wait, yes. So does this make it a PS3 game?
Yes.
Remastered for the PS5 and Xbox Series X?
Yes, it does. So yes, alongside GTA 5, which released later this year, it is a game that has spanned now 3 different console generations.
I mean, it's a good game.
It's good. It's good. Some of it doesn't hold
deserves it, but it's a good game.
Much, but yeah, it's good. And if you've never played it, it's cool that it's available for the new systems. So there you go.
It's okay. Once Kingdom Hearts gets remastered for the PS5 and Xbox One or Xbox Series X, then it will be a 4-generation game.
4 generations.
Still playing the same game. Speaking of lots of generations, the last new game we have releasing is Shin Megami Tensei 3: Nocturne for the PS4, Switch, and PC. All right, let's get some music games. Video game news.
Music.
Yes, some music. I'm stuck on the musicals.
This is the serious story that I hinted at earlier.
Yes, where video games and geopolitics collide. As you mentioned at the top of this podcast, in support of Palestinians who suffered and continue to suffer attacks and human rights violations from Israeli forces, websites like IGN, Game Informer, and GameSpot posted articles with statements and charity resources. Shortly afterwards, IGN and Game Informer's articles were taken down by their corporate parents. The staff immediately complained, with IGN eventually posting an open letter to their ownership wishing for the article to be reposted. This has led to a standoff between the writers and their owners, who also run international versions of IGN, including one in Israel, who have specifically posted in defense of Israel's actions.
Yes. So yeah, this is a complicated story, but ultimately it stems from, so game websites have not always been the best about addressing
international news concerns. Or just big news in general. They kind of stay to their lane.
But things are getting better over the last few years, specifically, especially after last June, when the Black Lives Matters protests were happening. A lot of video game websites supported that movement as well. And so this is kind of falling off the back of that. It's like, why not let the staff of your editorial stay where they stand on an issue and have a statement, and let their readership donate to causes if they want. Seems pretty simple. You have, a frame of reference from the top, and you should be able to state how you stand on a certain issue. However, if you're a parent company who, I don't know, has holdings of the same brand in, I don't know, Israel, you're probably not going to be super gung-ho about your biggest outlet, the American branch, making a big what they saw as an anti-Israel stance.
Well, they don't call
It's
it
going to make the whole
anti-Israel.
brand seem confused, right? But that's the thing about this, is that no matter what, the Israel branch of IGN is always going to be in support of the state, because of course they are. It's going to be harder for them to be convinced by a different branch, because it's just a different culture, it's a different situation. Again, this is complicated, but in something so so basically what I'm saying is the corporate overlords overreached and basically said, well, we're not going to let them say this, so this article gone. And of course the staff are like, what the hell, we had a thing there, we believe in this cause, we would like it to stay up so that we people can help, we believe in this enough to want to keep this as our stance, we never wavered from this, we don't want it to appear to our readers that we changed our mind or that we weren't confident in what our stance was. So this has kind of led to even further division here. The corporate overlords did eventually let them put the thing back. They also released a statement kind of explaining why they did the takedown and explaining that they're going to have conversations with the staff going forward. But the bottom line here is this adds another reason for the staff to think about unionizing, especially now. Not only would it give them more power in these situations where their corporate disagrees, but also, and somebody on Twitter pointed this out today, if there was any time to do it, this is the time, because there's no time in the year that game journalists have more power than the month before E3, because the corporation knows that if those writers aren't on board for grueling coverage of every game announcement that happens for the next month, then there's no reason to have that website now. There isn't. So they need to have those writers on their side playing ball, or else there's no website, there's no IGN. So this is the time for leverage.
It's the turning point.
This is
the leverage.
Definitely. So it's interesting. We've seen this happen in other journalism outlets, and now it's finally happening in games. It'll be very interesting to see what happens next with this, because what starts as just wanting to help the Palestinian people, which is a very valid cause, it may turn into a conversation between these corporations and these assets that they own about the power that these journalists have to state their own opinions on things. So it's interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Right. And they're not just Palestinian people. They're still just people. There's still people. Yes, you don't have to have the qualifier.
But you do in a similar way that Black Lives Matter, right? It's a similar argument. To remind people that the Palestinians are the ones with the most violence happening to them is to remind you that that is a cause that you should care about. It is not saying that Palestinian lives matter, for instance. It's not saying that Israeli lives don't. It is only saying that we need to focus at the moment. The best metaphor that I always use, and this is commonly brought up with the Black Lives Matter movement, is firefighter is looking at two houses. One is burning and the other house is not. The firefighter should care about the house that is burning. There's no use in somebody saying, but that's a house too, it could burn at any moment. The firefighter should still focus on the house that's burning. Same argument here. Yes, there's certainly some violence happening to Israel right now. Yes, Hamas is a terrorist organization that exists and that are firing on Israelis. That is true. However, as John Oliver brought up in his program, Israel has a lot more of a structure to defend themselves. They have anti-air missiles. They have this iron dome that protects them. Metaphorically, there isn't actually an iron dome. You know what I mean. But whereas the Palestinians don't have that kind of protection, that's why you see a big difference in violence on both sides. So that's why it's important that I say Palestinians here, and that's why these causes that they were supporting were for the Palestinian movement. So just that's why.
Yeah, I don't think that's not what I meant by the qualifier. I mean that what you said is all accurate and correct. That's not what I meant though. What I meant is that it's not just the fighters who are being attacked here. There's bombings, there's men, women,
civilians,
children,
yes.
civilians are being attacked here. People.
That is important to remember.
Yes. Everything you said is correct. I'm not saying that. That's not what I meant.
Anyway. I figured, but
yeah. Well, better to make that clarification now than to have someone, email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com.
Please do email us, though.
Yeah. Complaining that we got it wrong.
But anyway. So yeah, just to wrap up the story, if you want, those articles are back online. So please go to IGN, go to the article that they posted. They have a lot of helpful resources there, including charities you can donate to help. Please go ahead and do that. It's a great help to the people out there. So yeah, it's cool that they were able to keep those up.
Yep.
All right.
And let's talk about some lighter news, shall we? Oh wait, no, this isn't lighter news. What the hell?
Well, it's lighter news in a way in comparison.
Yes, in comparison, most things are lighter news in comparison to like the horrors of war. Unless you're at WB Games, Warner Brother Games, because as we mentioned, Warner Media is currently merging, acquisitioning Discovery. And so it's brought up talk of past dealings and rumors, including that of Warner Brother Games and whether it would be sold off. Well, Warner Brother Games has been through a tumultuous past year. In June of last year, it was reported that AT&T was looking to sell off Warner Brother Games and get away from video game business as a whole. After some time, the search for a new owner ceased when AT&T decided to hold onto Warner Brother Games as they weighed their various options. That weighing came to a head this week as we announced, we didn't announce it, but as the Warner Media Discovery merger that we talked about earlier in the podcast came to fruition. Quote, some of the gaming arm will stay with AT&T and some will go with the new company, an AT&T representative told Axios. Further details were not provided, as Warner Brother Games currently lists 11 studios under its banner, including NetherRealm, Avalanche Software, Rocksteady, Monolith, and many more. It's not clear what this means for the two companies under the new merger deal, but with DC Comics going to Warner Media Discovery, whatever that new entity may be called, it does create a situation where not all video game development studios will have unfettered access to the DC license. It's possible a situation could emerge where, to make a new Injustice game, AT&T would have to license the IP from Warner Media Discovery, which would likely make any such project prohibitively expensive. And that's just for a DC game. Now, they are currently working on that Harry Potter open world game, which, if they have to relicense that, could also be up in limbo currently.
This also affects Rocksteady, who are working on Batman game.
That's what I was just about to say. Rocksteady and Batman and the Hobbit game as well.
Yeah. Things could get really complicated very quickly if the company kind of get split in the middle. That may not happen. You may see all of WB games getting moved to the new company, or maybe AT&T keeps all of them. There's so many different options that could happen. It's not really clear until we know the exact like separation that's happening in this deal. So
unfortunately,
yeah,
we may
it's a
not know until
big question mark.
2022 when, or later, when the deal gets
Yeah.
officially signed and stuff gets released to the media saying this is what we have agreed upon.
So yeah, it's a matter of time, but yes, for now, the question of the fate of a lot of these Warner Brothers games are in the air above us.
Unfortunately,
Anyway,
such is the case as many video games, as we've seen games that are currently like scheduled for release and then get pulled and then the studio shuts down or gets bought or purchased. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. Unfortunately,
yes,
WB
certainly.
Games does have a lot of holdings in a lot of different companies, like we mentioned. A lot of big companies too, like Rocksteady and Monolith being the other big one.
Yep.
But this is currently speculation. Nothing's in place, but it is very unlikely that it stays whole. Just the way with Warner Media and AT&T kind of work as like big corporations. It's don't expect parents to stick together.
Oh no.
Not speaking from experience there.
Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yep, we'll see what happens.
See what happens.
Did you play anything?
No, not really. No, I need to pick a few things back up. Although I did dip into Destiny real quick. New season started, so I played a little bit of that stuff. Not a whole lot to talk about there, though. It's still Destiny 2. Yeah. For same old, still the show, still pitching. Oh, I made it to the majors though.
Yes.
Finally. Except there's like, they traded so many people in this virtual version of the Angels. Like Trout and Otani are still there, but like everybody else just gutted. Just the whole team is just everybody just a bunch of triple A's. It was like, okay, all right. I guess it's a rebuilding season.
Hey, maybe that's why you made it.
Maybe.
I did finish Pokemon Snap.
Okay.
So the story, I believe, is finished, but like all the extra like missions are still available. There's like 140 different like individual pictures you're supposed to get or something. So working on that and working on like leveling up all the places so all the Pokemon can come out and be friendly and stuff. So lots to still work on for Pokemon Snap. I beat the story, but not the game. Speaking of being the story, not the game, I also started playing a Ring Fit Adventure again.
Cool.
And I feel kind of bad because the day that I stopped playing it was day 49. The only reason I know that is because when I picked it up again, it said, welcome, you made it to day 50.
Yeah. Oh, well. But that's
so
the
I
thing,
like
is it doesn't
49-day streak going.
I feel like there's a reason why they don't reset that number, because it's supposed to be a journey and journeys take a long time. And if you reset, you would feel like you're starting from zero, which you're not really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a philosophical difference there. But cool. Yeah, I need to get back on that too.
So that's all. I also beat Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, good.
I streamed that, but unfortunately, the last chapter streaming locks out the entire chapter from streaming for the PlayStation.
Got it.
And I didn't have a capture device on it, so
well.
Sorry to anyone who was trying to watch that stream. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake is complete. Not sure if I want to actually go through New Game Plus and do everything again, because there's also Horizon Zero Dawn for me to do New Game Plus on. I haven't played that game in a long time.
All right.
So streaming games this week and next week are pretty busy for me, but I'll probably get back onto it come June.
Okay.
Like on kind of a regular schedule. But with that, I think that ends us here, right?
I believe so. That will do it for this week's edition of the Media Boat Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to meet us next week, we'll have another show for you with all sorts of cool stuff. So just tune into that. If you want to see the video version, you can go to youtube.com, search Media Boat Podcast, and find our channel. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. You know the YouTube drill. It's been around long enough. You know what to do. There you can watch video versions of our podcast. If you want to hear the audio version of our podcast, you can do so on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're bound to be there. So check us out. If you want to see us on social media channels, we're on Twitter as @MediaBoatCast, Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast, and you can find our page. Like, comment on there as well. And if you want to email us questions, comments, anything, email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. And lastly, go to mediaboatpodcast.com to find us and our website, where we put up a new post for every podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Got increased viewers on that website, by the way. I keep seeing the message pop up.
It's good to know.
Good to see people are being driven there somehow.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we'll be back next week for another episode, but until then, we will be gone.
Yep. More thoughts. We'll definitely have some music thoughts for sure. I'll be listening to that. I don't know if it's good or bad. Blake Shelton album.
We'll see.
And we'll definitely have thoughts on the Olivia Rodrigo Sour.
Yes.
Album.
So tune in for that and more next week.
And be back with more news and thoughts and takes. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.